that $10 an hour minimum wage is not much. It's really not much. If you work, you shouldn't be poor. You should have a decent livelihood. If you do, there is something wrong with it.
My rent is $1,045 per month. Working at $8.50 an hour, pay $1,045 per month for rent, have to borrow from this to pay this one. I'm in favor of them raising the minimum wage to $10, and I ask everybody here to support it. Thank you.
Canadians pride themselves on being a country with a heart, I guess you would call it. But what kind of heart do we have when 1 in 6 kids is living in poverty? What kind of heart do we have when there's growing inequality, growing disparity between the wealthiest and the poorest in our society?
The Liberal government increase to the minimum wage of $8 is grossly inadequate. It is still $6,000 below the poverty line for a full-time worker.
Over 80 economists in Canada have sided with us in terms of raising the minimum wage. And not only that, but studies in communities like Great Britain, where they've had a higher minimum wage than we have in our jurisdiction, have proved beyond a shadow of a doubt with studies that raising the minimum wage does not hurt the economy, it helps the economy. And south of the border, you can compare Washington State to Idaho, 2 states side by side, one with the highest minimum wage, one with one of the lowest minimum wages. And guess who's doing better? Washington's doing better, their small business is doing better, their economy is doing better, and most importantly, those working men and women are doing way better.
As a small business owner, when I look my employee in the face, I can proudly give them $10 plus an hour because they have the same rights and privileges that I do, and should be treated with respect. And if they're working hard for me, why would I want to reduce them to below the poverty line? It's simply not fair. It's a social injustice. So I'm all for $10 an hour.
Last year, the total level of corporate profits in Canada reached $200 billion. That's over 14% of the entire gross domestic product. It has never been that high in the history of this country since Confederation. 14% of the entire GDP. So there is lots of money going around. The problem is it's not being shared with people who are working hard at the bottom. It's being taken more and more to the people at the top.
For women workers, 31% receive less than $10 an hour, while 41% of recent immigrants are earning $10 or less. To us, it's really important to underline that there are gender and race issues to this difference. People of color, immigrants, are disproportionately pushed to accept wages below the poverty line. And in order to survive, they have to take 2 or 3 jobs. That is bad for workers, and it's bad for their families.
I train people properly. I pay them more money to try and keep them happy so that they keep working. I would say I'm a little bit selfish because if I can keep them, I don't have to train somebody else and I save money. I mean, it makes sense. One point I wanted to make, and I think it was Henry Ford, when he first started making automobiles, said, if I can't pay my staff enough money to buy a car, why am I building cars?
The economy has changed drastically. Our neighborhoods are no longer always made up of small local stores, cafes, restaurants, businesses that we go to. More and more, the retail sector is dominated by big business, big box stores, and the fast food chains are in every place. And in fact, the majority of those 1.2 million workers in Ontario that earn less than $10 an hour don't work for small business. Only 29% do. The vast majority work for major multinationals like Walmart, McDonald's, or the temporary agencies. And what Magali talked about, the largest single employer in the United States today is not General Motors, it's not Walmart, it's Manpower temporary agencies with almost 1 million people on the payroll.
At our table is going to distribute 400 petitions and kits across the neighborhood of Parkdale. We have Autumn, who's a young person at our table who thinks that it would be a great idea to start postering our high schools and getting our high school students more engaged and involved in this campaign.
The strongest recommendation that came out of this was they wanted to see that businesses that paid a living wage were rewarded, that there was maybe a label that they could put up on their window, a sticker, something like that.
I'm from the Somali community and East African, representing the East African community, and we really support this minimum wage initiative, and it really affects our families, and we will love this to go and to be passed. We're gonna work with you, and we're gonna sign as much as we can and outreach to these newcomer communities, and this is a great thing, and we hope it becomes a reality.
This is a year of the provincial elections, and we need to make sure our MPs are kept accountable, and that we need to get the message out. If you're not supportive of this campaign, you will be out.